Greetings, welcome back to Black Bear News. Please remember to like this video and make sure you are still subscribed. Getting into another article. Not this one, though. Looking at this from MIT Technology Review. Climate change, November 25th. The developing world has hit the brakes on clean energy. Is that because Trump's in office? What does that mean? What does that mean? People are just going whole hog on coal and fossil fuels? Let's find out. Clean energy investments in the developing world plummeted last year, while coal use reached a record high. Those are very bad signs for the climate. Most of the world's economic expansion in the coming decades will be in nations like China, India, and other emerging markets. So powering that growth with fossil fuels rather than renewables threatens to lock in soaring levels of greenhouse gas emissions. Very quickly, somebody in the comment section a few days ago, there was a comment, I think the discussion was about overpopulation or something, and the comment was something to the effect of developing countries, the population is growing much faster there, and they're going to be using more resources as they develop and gain access to, first world or Western nation standards of living. And somebody responded with like, are you, you're a Nazi for saying something like that or whatever. They were alluding to the fact that the comment was, racist or something, but the commenter was just pointing out the obvious, pointing out facts. The fact is that, he wasn't saying like, it's all their fault or, something's got to be done about these third world nations or developing countries and their population. He wasn't saying that. He was just saying factually that developing nations, the emissions are due to grow much faster if they're not, if this development isn't implemented with renewable energies in mind, of course. But the truth is that the population growth in developing nations is way, way faster than first world nations. That's just factual. What does that mean for the near future? I don't know. Anyways, getting back to the article. The numbers, investments in solar, wind, and similar projects fell to $133 billion in 2018. Down from $169 billion the prior year, according to Bloomberg NEF's annual survey of more than 100 emerging markets. China, the world's largest carbon emitter, accounted for most of the decline. The nation put $86 billion into clean energy projects last year, down from $122 billion in 2017, as it cut renewables subsidy programs to get soaring costs under control. Clean energy investments fell by $2.4 billion in India and $2.7 billion in Brazil. The report found India being one of the countries that is supposedly a leader in renewable energy development. One bit of good news is that investments did rise outside of those three nations, ticking up by $4 billion, with Vietnam, South Africa, Mexico, and Morocco putting in most resources. That's good news. Fossil fuels, the other good news is that the capacity of new coal plants did decline to its lowest level in a decade last year at just under 40 gigawatts. Indeed, overall, more clean energy capacity than fossil fuel capacity was added in 2018. So that's an interesting headline. Given the actual facts that they're giving in this article, overall, more clean energy capacity than fossil fuel capacity was added in 2018. That's kind of runs counter to the headline. But anyways, but the bet on every additional coal plant that gets built is that it will still be operating and pumping out climate emissions decades from now, making it increasingly difficult to achieve the cuts necessary to avoid dangerous levels of global warming. The really bad news, it now appears that China has kicked off a new coal building boom, and they have. They're actually adding infrastructure not just inside their country but outside their country. Places like Africa. China is one of the leading drillers of oil and other resources. Hello. Last week, nonprofit Global Energy Monitor reported that the nation expanded its coal fleet by nearly 43 gigawatts between January 2018 and June 2019, far outpacing a roughly 8 gigawatt decline across the rest of the world in that period. And it has nearly 150 gigawatts under construction or likely to be revived, roughly equal to all the European Union's coal plants. 150 gigawatts under construction. An increase in China's coal power capacity is not compatible with the Paris Climate Agreement to hold warming well below 2C. The 2C. 2 degrees Celsius is what I was trying to say. The report concluded. So mixed bag in that article, kind of a mixed bit of information. I don't know. It doesn't look like the developing world has hit the brakes. So a nice bit of clickbait there for the headline. But I mean, obviously, we're still going in the wrong direction as far as emissions. We're still increasing emissions. China is still increasing emissions. Many countries are still increasing emissions. We're not going in the right direction. We're not going at a net, net zero or a net decrease in emissions. Overall, I'd say the picture is probably not good, not positive. And why is China increasing its capacity for coal? Is it because of a lack of commitment from the Trump administration? Is that part of it? Are they just realizing that they, are most developed countries or developing countries seeing that we just, the economy is going to crash unless we just continue whole hog on economic growth? I don't know. It's very confusing because China seems to be very aware of the threat of climate change, and they seem to be one of the countries, that is willing to do more in regards to climate change, and yet here they are, going in the opposite direction. But it's not unlike the Obama administration making overtures to caring about the climate, or getting into the Paris Agreement, and becoming a fossil fuel exporter in the world, one of the leading exporters in the world, and also one of the biggest, fracking. One of the biggest investments in fracking was in the United States under the Obama era administration. So there's, mixed messages, mixed commitments. It'd be nice if there was some kind of not just consensus that climate change is a problem, but actual, action, coordinated action among nations in doing something about climate change on a grand level. I don't know. That's all I have for you in this video. Thank you so much for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. If you would like to support this channel, you can do so at the links below. Until next time, peace.